EA Play happened this past Thursday, and honestly it was kind of a shorter show than I was expecting, but we did get to see a lot of Star Wars Squadrons, which I think is the one thing most people were looking out for, and we got kind of a teeny tiny tease towards Battlefield 6, or at least that's what some people think, and I really want to dive into that and talk about that. Anyway, before we start, remember that if you do enjoy the video, to leave it a nice, thick, and juicy like, and if you want more content like this, then as always, remember to subscribe. So Squadrons, that's what I want to talk about first, because I think that's where the juicy meat of EA Play was. That's where all the good stuff was, the official confirmed stuff about a game people are excited for. And I just have to say that this game looks absolutely awesome. It looks like it's going to be an arena style spaceship shooter type of game with objective-based game modes as well as a dogfight game mode. Now, the fleet battle game mode actually reminds me a lot of Frontlines from the Battlefield series, and the reason for that is because it is staged, but it's kind of like Frontlines in how if you win the first objective, you go on the attack to the next objective, or if you lose the first objective, you go on the defense to the next objective, and it's kind of a tug-of-war, push and pull type of game mode, and I think that's really awesome because I do really enjoy Frontlines in Battlefield. I am very interested to see how it's going to work in a more vehicle-focused type of game. Now, another thing that we saw with Squadrons was, of course, that not only will it have a single-player mode that gives you both the Empire and the Rebel point of view on the Galactic Civil War after the Battle of Endor, but you're going to have a ton of customization, not only for your ships and for your actual characters, but you'll also be able to get a cool Ewok bobblehead. Now, another thing I want to talk about that is kind of iffy. It's a bold move for them to do so, but I think it makes sense for what the game is trying to be, and that is that it is going to be first person only, so you'll be inside the cockpit at all times. Now, the reason it's cool is because, number one, it has full VR support, so if you play VR, then you have the opportunity to play with that and see how that works. The other thing is that it also allows the user interface or UI to be a part of the actual screens in the ship, so you get that extra bit of immersion because the actual damage meter, the ability to shift power and shields and all kinds of things like that, it's already built into the screen, and it'll feel much more like a Star Wars experience. And that's another mechanic I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, but I'm only iffy about it because most of the time being first person in vehicles is a little weird in video games. It's one thing in real life because you can kind of have a feel for the car, but it's a little different when you're going through the medium of a screen into a game. You don't really have the full feel of the ship necessarily, so that I think is why a lot of people prefer the third person point of view on vehicles. But of course, if everyone is going to be in the first person point of view, I'm sure they came up with a way to try and make this work smoothly so that we're not constantly clipping our wing on the side of some debris in the middle of a fight, because that would honestly get extremely annoying. Anyway, the mechanic I want to talk about was being able to shift power and shields and move shields front to back, being able to pull off these crazy maneuvers. I think that is an awesome feature to have in this game. It adds such a skill curve to where you have to learn how to dogfight, not just the different maneuvers that you can pull off, but also being able to manage those things like your shields and like your weapons and everything like that. I think that is a really awesome feature to be able to put in the game, and I'm really glad it's there because it adds that extra depth and skill to the actual dogfighting and the gameplay itself. I'm very excited to try this game out. I'm definitely going to be playing a lot of it. It's going to be on the channel for sure when it does finally release, and I hope you guys are excited as well. So let me know down below what you guys think of Star Wars Squadrons. Are you going to be playing it? Are you going to be picking it up? What did you think of its presentation yesterday? So the other thing I want to talk about is the supposed Battlefield 6 tease. Ooh, everyone thought we saw a first look at Battlefield 6. Well, I hate to burst your bubble. I know a lot of people are talking about this white box footage of looks like a large scale battle going on, as well as this image of what looks like Clyde Blackburn from Battlefield 1, and they're like, oh, that's our first look at Battlefield 6. That's what it's gonna look like. We see it. I hate to break it to you, but it's not. The white box footage, I want to kind of break that down first. If you look closely at it, the characters are wearing World War II uniforms and they're holding World War II era weapons. It's not Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is going to be a modern game. I can go ahead and tell you that. You don't even need sources to tell you that. It's just, that's what it's going to be. We can guess at that. Now, regardless of that, I do think that this is trying to tell us something about the next Battlefield. I do think that there is a takeaway from this and a reason why they showed specifically something like that. I think they are trying to hint at us that this is going to be a much larger scale game. I think modes that are larger than 100 players are coming to this next Battlefield title. 64 players is not large scale anymore. If Call of Duty can have 50v50 TDM, then Battlefield really needs to step up their game, because again, 64 players is not large scale anymore. It just isn't, and they need to evolve with the times. Now, that doesn't mean that 64 player Conquest or 64 player Operations aren't going to come to the game. That is very possible as well. I do think for balancing purposes that is a decent idea. I think that it's definitely something that is fun. There's a reason it's kind of that staple mode in Battlefield, is because that 64 players works. But if you have larger maps with larger areas to fight in, with larger players in one server, I think you can offer that same classic experience just in a larger way. Maps will have more locations and more variety to play and explore. After all, that is part of what Battlefield is about. It's about the sandbox. It's about exploring the map, finding what you can do, getting into crazy situations, and having a ton of fun. And I think by having larger maps with larger player counts, you offer that much more opportunity for those only in Battlefield moments, and I'm very excited to see what they do with this next Battlefield title. Now, the other thing they talked about is this image of Blackburn, or who I'm just gonna call Blackburn because it does look like the guy from Battlefield 1. Just saying. Now, a lot of people on Twitter were asking Jeff Berg, who played Clyde Blackburn in Battlefield 1, if it's him, if he's coming to Battlefield 6, and he of course said no. Even if it was him, he would say no because there's an NDA, the game hasn't been announced yet, but at the end of the day, I still don't think it's him. Just because he played Blackburn in BF1 doesn't mean he has to always come back and play Blackburn in whatever era the new game is set in. There was a Blackburn in Battlefield 3 who was not, I presume, played by Jeff Berg. I just going out on a whim there, but I don't think that the same actor has to reprise the role of Blackburn in every game. Now, could this be a Blackburn? Yeah, it seems like it's starting to become a staple in these games. You know, throw a guy named Blackburn in there. It's just kind of a classic. He seems to appear in the better titles, in my opinion. But even if it is a Blackburn or isn't a Blackburn, it was a good look at kind of the graphical fidelity that we are going to be seeing going forward with these new games. Just the level of detail. And of all things, DICE is really good with the details in their games. They are very good at putting those little touches on things that make the game feel that much more immersive, aside from crazy cosmetics. But regardless of that, just little things here and there, they're very good at doing that. And I think being able to have tech that now allows them to be able to put those tiny details and do those little cool things in a much better way, I guess you could say, than before. I don't even know. It's going to look amazing. I can't wait till next year when we actually see Battlefield 2021 or Battlefield 6 or whatever it's going to be. I can't wait to see what it's going to be, what it's going to look like, what they bring to the table, because I think the next Battlefield game definitely needs to wow us. But regardless of all that, let me know what you guys think down below about the games coming out this year. What do you think about Squadrons? What do you think about some of the other games shown off at EA Play? I know Skate 4 was announced. There was Rocket Arena was announced. I know Jeff Braddock, the community manager at DICE, was kind of teasing that a lot on Twitter. Let me know what you think about that. Is that what you're excited for? But let me know what you guys are most looking forward to this year. What did you think of the possible Battlefield 6 teases? Let me know your thoughts on that down below. And of course, follow me on Twitter and Instagram to get updates on videos and just to kind of interact with me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.